What's up, world? This is your guy, Guitar K, and today we're going to be talking about how a closed mind is an unhealthy mind. Look, man, when your mind's closed, you're not receiving any new information. You're running off old information. Your mind is similar to your body. When you don't use your body, you get what is called atrophy. That's when your muscles, they become no good. They become useless. They say you got to use it or you lose it. The same principles goes with your mind. You can't keep going with what you think you knew or what you used to know. The world is constantly changing and evolving, and new things are constantly coming about. You got to get the uploads. You got to get the new information. You can't keep going off the old MapQuest or you're going to find yourself lost. Look, man, let's read the definition of closed-mindedness. Closed-mindedness refers to a reluctance or refusal to consider new ideas, perspective, or information that challenges one's existing beliefs. It characterizes by a rigid and flexible approach to thinking and resistance to change. People who are closed-minded tend to focus on being right rather than understanding others and are more likely to make statements rather than ask questions. Look, man, when I was in school, I used to ask questions all the time. I was never just one to assume that I knew what was going on. I took notes and I asked questions. And people would always be like, man, you're pretty smart. No, it's not that I'm smart. It's just that I'm not going to leave out of there until I have a complete understanding of what's going on. I'm going to ask questions. I'm not going to just assume. People that are closed-minded, they never going to ask a question. They're just going to think that they know what's going on, and 9 times out of 10, they really don't. They're going off of what they think is going on. Look, man, when you're closed-minded, most people that are closed-minded, they bitter. They cold, they hard, they rigid. They so stuck. They'll just sit there and rot away rather than reach out and ask for help. A lot of time, closed-minded people are the people that are antisocial, people that don't want to be involved with other people. They just don't want to get in the game. They don't want to participate. So they just learn. I guess they call themselves that they'll sit back and watch. But when you sit back and watch and you think you know what's going on, you don't really have a full understanding, man. Being closed-minded will keep you stuck. It will get you left behind. Look, man, you can't see straight when you're closed-minded. You ever heard that statement that you can't see the trees through the forest? You can't see your nose right in front of your face because you're closed-minded. You can't receive any new ideas. You're so stuck with the old ways. Look, man, you're still back in the days when the credit cards used to be on the carbon copy paper and you had to swipe that machine across it. You still stuck back in that time. I remember like when cell phones and everything was first coming out, so many people was like, I'm not getting no cell phone. And then when the smartphones came out, I'm not getting no smartphone. You're closed-minded. You're not willing to try anything new. And like I said in that definition, it all comes down to we're not willing to change. But we know I did a video on if nothing changes, nothing changes, and how I said that change is inevitable. And for those that don't know what inevitable means, it means it's going to happen regardless. So you can either go kicking and screaming or you just go with the flow. Look, man, a lot of times, closed-minded people have high ego, high pride, and this happens almost naturally because they are just not willing to go along. They just want to think that they know everything and no, you can't tell me nothing. And like I said, most of the time, they don't even notice that they're walking around with their nose up in the air, looking down on what everybody else is doing, thinking that they know everything. That's the person that every time you try to tell them something, I know. How can you know? This information just came out and you closed-minded. You haven't even took the time to learn the new ways, to learn what's going on. So whenever somebody's trying to tell you something, you ain't listening. You're closed-minded. Therefore, you don't know. Being closed-minded is mentally unhealthy. You're going to be left behind. You're going to be stuck. You're going to be unable to adapt. And a lot of times when people are unable to adapt, they drive themselves crazy because they can't get along with the new things that's going on. I read this thing. They did a study on people that are in mental hospitals or the loony bin is what you want to call it. And when they do pass away and they do studies on their brain, A lot of like 75% of them, they don't have the chemical makeup of somebody that's really clinically insane or clinically have mental health issues. 9 times out of 10 is just that they are closed-minded. They are not willing to accept their new circumstances. Let me give you an example. Let's say like a spouse of someone that was really rich and successful. Let's say that their spouse passed away and something happened where their estate or their money can't be passed on to them. Then people will go crazy and insane because they just can't accept the new way of life. They can't accept that they're not rich no more. They can't just get along with what's going on now. They're not willing to accept it. Therefore, they go crazy. They go insane. They're closed-minded. They can't think that it could be, you have to live within your means now. You have to live poor, if whatever you want to call it, middle class, however. You have to actually get out and work now. Acceptance is a big part of being open-minded. Acceptance. That'll teach you that, look, everything is not guaranteed. You want to make God laugh? Tell him your plans. Tell him what you think is going to happen next week because you just never know. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Look, man, this is 2025. I'm 48 years old, and most of the things that happen in my life, I couldn't predict it. I couldn't predict it. There were COVID and 9/11 and Trump being president and all of these things. Look, man, I have to be open-minded to what may or may not happen. And I have to be accepting and, prepared to pivot. Be prepared to, react and be willing to go along with what's going on. I can't be so closed-minded as to think that, everybody's this way. Only this thing will work. Only that will happen because you just never know. And when you get so locked in to one certain way of thinking and that way doesn't work, you should see people going crazy. People will go crazy when one thing doesn't go the way that they think it should. But when everything's going good, they're the happiest people in the world. But as soon as the boat rocks a little bit, they jump in ship. That's what happens when you're closed-minded. But when you know that sometimes the boat does rock, I mean, we are out at sea here. Sometimes the boat does rock. Be open-minded. That's the only way you're going to be able to navigate the rough waters of life. You never know what's going to happen. Grandma used to say that when you're living life, you're either headed into a storm, you're in the middle of a storm, or you're just coming out of one. The only way that you're going to be able to navigate that is to be open-minded because you just never know. People that's closed-minded, they just stuck. A lot of times it comes from living in small towns or never going anywhere, never coming outside of your comfort zone, not having good communication skills. It comes from so many things that's really easy to break yourself out of. And for one of the things, it's just called giving things a try. You tell people that they're bored. It's nothing to do. You got to try some new things. You got to expand your horizons. Hence the term be open-minded. Anything that you like to do now, at one point in your life, you didn't like to do it. When you were born, you didn't like to do any of the things that you like to do now. You had to learn to like them. At one time, you didn't even know about the things that you like to do. You had to, at one point, you gave it a shot. Now, for some reason, you're so closed-minded that you think you only like to do this and this and that. Give it a try. Same thing with food. When you're young, you look at something, I don't like that. I'm like, here, taste it. Next thing you know, you like it. Same thing with people. I don't like him or her. Next thing you know, you get to talking, may even fight, whatever. But then you come to like people. Expand your horizons, man. Stop making it so hard for yourself. When you go against the grain, you get splinters. You go with the grain, it's smooth. Same thing with haircuts. You go against the grain, you get a busted cut. You go with the grain. Everything is easier when you just go with the flow. Stop being so defiant. Stop being so argumentative. You don't know everything. It's 1 billion people in this world. It's so many countries, so many places to go, so many things to see. The world is bigger than your town, your city, your block, your house, your small mind. It's a great big world out here. Open your mind up to it. Stop being closed-minded. You're going to go far if you open your mind. New ideas, new people, new relationships, just new. Upgrades, level up. Get out of the old, get into the new. This is your guy, Guitar K. Look, man, I'm going to be open-minded today, and I bet you I'm going to learn something. I'm telling you, that is a good challenge to give yourself. Try to learn something new every day. And the only way to do that is to be open-minded. This is your guy, Guitar K. Be more